Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev, organic conversations, bringing them to you right here, right now.
Good morning. Organic is for sure.
Organic. This means we do not prep our conversations. We show up on a Tuesday morning and hit record, and whatever comes out, comes out. So,
Yeah. Sometimes things will pop into my head, like the morning of, like if I'm getting ready, I'm like, "Ooh, that might be good," or what, and then if I even remember it.
I do that too.
So,
So I'll think,
how are things?
well, I was gonna say, I think in the morning because I listen to other podcasts, and I'm like, "Ooh, that would be a good topic to talk, have, conversation to have." But by the time we have a conversation, I've already forgot about it, and a lot of times because it's probably already in my subconscious mind that we end up talking about it in some way. It's
Exactly.
not a pre-planned like, "Oh, Bev, let's talk about this." It's just whatever.
It's interesting, but it just goes to show you how connected all of us are, honestly, because it's like even this morning, we're redoing an area that has our batteries for solar in it. And I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and I'm like, "Ooh, I need to get this. So I need to get this insulation stuff ordered. I need to find out what it is." So I go in the room to find out what it is, and he's looking at it on the computer right then. Like we're in totally different places. We didn't have the conversation ahead of time, but that just
Right.
goes to show you that we are all connected. We're receiving messages all the time. It's just a matter of, are you listening? Or have you?
I'll,
Have
I'll
you?
share.
I was putting makeup on, so I
Oh,
was right now. It had to be right now, or I'm going to have mascara in my nose or something. I don't know.
right. Like I did that yesterday. So my husband had texted me, said he was going to be late from work, and it's getting close to when I'm ready to eat dinner, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I actually typed out a text. Hey, do you have an idea when you would be home? And then I thought, you know what? Forget. I deleted the text and I said, he'll let me know. 30, not even 30 seconds. I got a text from him. Hey, we're heading to the yard. Got to do some paperwork, then I'll be home. I was like, thank you, universe. You're just telling me that's how it works, right? So
Yeah. And you're saying, thank you, universe. That's how it works. Because I'm thinking telepathically, that's how it works. I mean, it's just that
yeah,
simple. It's not a matter, there is not an expectation. It's just, you just kind of put it out there, and it's up to that other person to be receptive to that information. Because sometimes we're not on the same energy level.
right,
Sometimes we're in different spaces or preoccupied, but he was probably busy, focused on doing whatever he was doing right now. And
right.
it's like, oh, I should probably let her know this or whatever, not even recognizing why he felt that desire. Because sometimes we don't know who had the desire first,
Right.
right?
Chicken and the egg. Here we go.
That's right. But we can communicate. I feel like if we're in that receptive area at all times, now that we're having this conversation, we can communicate like this all the time. I feel like we're actually getting back to that. So maybe it's just a matter, because I think that we've been so trained to everything outside of us that we're now starting to go back in, starting to listen a little bit more. Which brings me to my next thing. What's been going on lately? Communication. Like, right? Communication is, it's huge. And we've talked about it before, but it is, I even had a dream this morning, and and there was an argument between me and another person, and the argument was what it came down to. And I was like, F this or F you or whatever, and I walked out, and then I came back out to apologize because there was a kid that was there to tell that child to go over to that child and apologize for cussing in front of the child, and the child was gone, and the parent said, it's all right, she's learning that communication is key. So it's like, that was my dream, and it's like, I'm aware of this. I am aware of this, but it's also communication with self. So it's being aware of self. It's being aware of the stories that you tell yourself, because it's something that I've been dealing with, and it's been in my face. And of course, I don't know if they call it the dark seat of the soul, the dark seat of the soul. I don't know what it is, but it's like this place that I feel like it feels like such an ugly place that I'm going, because it feels so uncomfortable. But it's all my shit. Like when I say that, it's all my stuff. It's my stuff I've got to work through. It has nothing to do with Freeman or any other relationship that I have around me. It's all my stuff that I have learned this behavior growing up, and it's maybe worked for me. Sorry, Jim. Sorry, mom. Sorry, sorry, Michael. Sorry, kids. But it's like that's where I was at, and it's just such. There's been some days that have been, man. It's felt. I had some days I was so pissed. I was pissed crying Friday, Saturday. Like I was pissed crying. I was so angry, and the anger really was. It let me know that there was a trigger there, and it let me know that the information that I was receiving really was my stuff. I mean, it really was me. So that's been that's hard. Something I would say that's probably the hardest stuff when you're looking at your own stuff. That's hard. That's like the dark night of the soul, or whatever you want to call it. To me, that's rough, because it's like then I had to work through these feelings, and I keep asking my universal team for help, because I don't know, how to process all this stuff, because this is all new stuff for me. Communicating, new stuff for me. Talking, you and I having this conversation, huge for me. Freeman and I having these conversations where he can be in a neutral place and allow me to be in my emotion and how I feel and not take it personal. It's huge. It's huge, but it's for my growth.
You've also, though, over the past, I don't know, month or so, I mean, it's been several weeks actually, that you've talked about how you've been going through this growth process and you're asking all the time, right?
Yeah.
Well, and part of our growth is healing.
Yeah.
And the universe says, okay, if you think you're ready, Bev, if you think you're ready, we're going to bring some stuff to the surface to give you the
Yeah.
opportunity, right? But what you did is said, okay, I'm angry, crying, pissed, crying, and then you're asking, how do I get through this? How do I process this? What do I do with this information, right? So you're still asking through it all, which is huge. That's huge for you as well. It's
Oh
a
yeah.
big deal to not, even I had to learn to not sit in that and think I was by myself, because that was my mentality. My whole, like my entire life was, I have to deal with this on my own. I have to figure it out. I have to get through it. Right. And then my
Yeah.
solution was, everybody would be better off if I wasn't here.
Exactly.
I mean, it wasn't the solution because I'm still here. I'm like, no, there's got to be a different solution. Even though I sat in that every day of, everybody would be better off if I wasn't here. Right. But I knew, no, that is not the solution. There's got to be something else. There's got to be something else. And so I kept asking, what is this about? Why am I here? What is the purpose? What is the purpose of life? And I just kept asking and asking and asking. Well, through that was my healing and healing and healing.
Yeah.
And so we are going to advance, so to speak. It's not that we're above anybody else, but we're going to expand more in ourselves through our healing. And when we ask the universe, we don't always like the way the universe responds to us. But from my perspective and what I know from my own journey is, the universe is going to contribute to my healing. And when I heal, or not necessarily when I heal, but when I do some healing work, because we're going to be doing this, I know for me, it'll be till my last breath, that if this life, that as I do healing work within myself, life just keeps getting better. Right. And so it's these layers, we still have these layers that keep surfacing when we're ready. And those layers of being pissed, of being angry, and just, right. That
Oh yeah.
is, you were in a space to have that surface, to be able to look at it, have the support system of somebody being there with you in it to listen and not judge or criticize, right? To listen
Yes.
and let you be in it and be a support in that way, which is way different and new for you. But the universe says, okay, she's in this space now.
Yeah.
And this will be a healthier way for her to process this than the space she was what, 10 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago.
months ago or whatever. Yeah, it's just it's been a lot.
Yeah. So,
But it's
um,
gross. I wouldn't take it back. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I wouldn't. My big thing is I want to love. You know, I want to love so unconditionally. I want to love it like everything, but I want to love myself. And that was something else I recognized during this past weekend. I don't love myself. I love myself, assets of myself. I love myself at times, but it's not, I conditionally love myself.
yeah, it's not, there's moments of unconditional love, which
There
is
is moments
great.
of it.
That's great
Yeah,
because that's huge
it
in
is.
and
It
of
is.
itself. Even for myself, there's moments.
Yeah.
The apps, I'm just like, oh, I'm just so amazing, right? And this is so great. But
Yes.
then there's
And
other
then it's almost,
moments.
it's emotional. You'll actually have an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Like you might be a happy cry or whatever. I've experienced that. And I know that that's there, but it's like in order for me to get to that place more often or to be in that space more often, it's shedding those layers. It's exposing myself. Really, it's really is exposing myself, and that being vulnerable is like we've talked about that kind of stuff before, but it's like as more and more of it still happens, because right now this is what's surfacing for me. So this is what I'm talking about. It is not easy. It's not. And then when you start feeling like all these feelings for another person, it's scary. Like it's scary. I'm going through a phase of my life that it's like I'm not sure about the ground that I'm standing on. So I focus on being grounded often because it's like this we've talked about before. The old self is dying. So like all this old things are dying. And it's like I'm in a whole new area. You know what I mean? It's like when we talk about if you're going to go through and do a deep cleansing on yourself, what are you filling yourself back up with afterwards? Like I'm releasing all this stuff. And I went through a bunch of notebooks and found all these things that I've been writing down and focus and everything else. And I didn't keep them anymore. It was something I was keeping before. It's like, it's not for me to have anymore. So I just burned them all Saturday. So of course this stuff is going to start happening. It's going to, because these things I'm letting go of. These are the things that I want, but it was filling up. I'm filling up with the things that I want in that space now that I've emptied the space.
Yeah. I want to touch on that. When you said it's unfamiliar ground I'm on, thinking about all the looking from the human side or the ego perspective, that the ego says drama, 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 fear, 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 fear. This is our focus. And this is how I can keep you safe, is by keeping you in that space of fear, right?
Mhm.
But now you're building a foundation of a support team. And maybe it's just one person, that's okay. But you have this support team who, when you are in your feelings or your emotions or processing, is not giving you the backlash that you're used to. And your ego is like, something's not right. What is wrong here? We're supposed to be getting criticized. We're supposed to be getting judged. We're supposed to be getting all this negative feedback.
Exactly what he tells me.
And
What
so
you're saying right now.
confirmation.
This is awesome. Yes, 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 and yes.
So, but your current support team is being loving and kind and understanding and giving you the space, even though they're present with you, that they're giving you the space to move through whatever it is you're experiencing. And the ego, right, is that what do they call it, devil or the angel, or the good or the bad, right, on your shoulders. One's whispering one thing, the other one's with, and the ego or the negative side is like, no, this isn't right. This is supposed to be a more dramatic field, and we're supposed to be on high alert and freaking out right now. And the other side, that spirit, I just say it's spirit, is
Yeah.
saying, you're doing great. You are so amazing. You are so loved. We're going to provide for you. You just ask, right? They're subtle, they're soft, they're loving, they're kind, they're compassionate. And so the new foundation seems a little unlevel right now because it's not what you're used to.
Yeah.
But the more we practice, right? The more you practice of being on the loving and compassionate side and that new support system, the more it's going to even out. And then that's going to be so much more familiar.
Yeah.
Than being in the dramatic side. Because
it's really in our natural state. Our natural state is to be in the, supported and loved. Yes. And that's our natural state. But I've got, 50 something years that I had experienced that. And if I wasn't experiencing it in a relationship, because I haven't been, then I was having that relationship with myself on the inside. So I was still experiencing it. Everything you just said, it's just that because it keeps you in that place. Freeman calls it the monkeys because it is a lot of the monkeys. And it's not, and you're part of my support team. I have a few people that's part of my support team, but if it's not someone that's in my experience when I'm at home, then because I would shut down. Yeah. And even while I was going through this, it took a bit. I mean, it took me probably like a day. It started Friday night. So it was like most of Saturday because I woke up that morning feeling that way. And then I was going through stuff. And by the evening, I was fine. But I still, during that whole process, even though I felt like if I didn't understand or didn't know what I was supposed to do next or how am I supposed to move through this, and I would keep asking over and over and over again until it started, where it started easing up, where it started feeling better, where I started having an understanding, where it was all right to look at myself and say, yeah, that's been me. And, I forgive myself, honestly. I've had to go through that process too, reminding myself to forgive myself because it's just stuff that I learned. And it's recognizing people aren't doing things to you, which we've talked about. But when you get into these spaces, it's to remind yourself again, nobody's doing anything to me. I'm doing this to me. Yeah. I am doing this to me. And it's like I even caught my words in my mind, but without a situation happening, like, wait a minute, that's not spirit right now talking to me. That's me talking shit to myself right now. And I just heard you. Mother. Seriously. Mother effer. Let's be real. Your mother effer. Right? That's right. That's exactly it. Because it's like, yeah, because that's exactly it. I'm like, I just caught you. So how much shit were you feeding yourself before I actually caught it? So it's like, it's such a process. And I guess the only thing I would tell people is just be patient, communicate, find people that you can have in your group that you can communicate with this kind of stuff with, because it can be kind of rough sometimes, but yes, I am ready for it. I am. I don't think it would have showed up if I wasn't ready for it. The universe would have gave me a little taste of it and been like, pull it right back. And it's like, no, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to move through this stuff. And I acknowledge that it doesn't feel good. It's funny because I've read stuff. Oh, going through this awakening process, it's not all rainbows and unicorns and Skittles and whatever else. And it's like, no, it's not. It's really not. But there's been a lot of parts that feel like that. Handle. Exactly. What'd you say? I was gonna say there's a lot of parts that actually feel like it. It feels like everything's going perfect. And I guess that's just like kind of giving you a little taste of this is how it's gonna be all the time. That was the first thing I thought too, was you're getting a glimpse of, do you want to feel this way or you want to stay in the crap? Right? So we get those glimpses. Things are great. Everything's flowing. Life's great. Money's flowing in. The relationships are good. The career's good. And then all of a sudden, you get smacked like a universe throat punch, right? And you're just like, whoa, where'd that come from? And we break down and then we sit in it. And it's like, I don't like feeling like this. And so right, great. You don't like feeling like this. That is great. That is awesome to recognize and acknowledge. How do you want to feel? Yeah. Well, I want to feel like when it was all smooth and easy and okay, good. I get that. And I love that. And so speaking from universe perspective, that we get that you want things to be flowing and wonderful and great. However, there's no growth there. Where's the growth? When we're in the crap. But it's not sitting in the crap. It is processing it, healing it, getting out of it. Then, right? And so then things are great. And then something else surfaces. So we play this back and forth. It's the contrast that we talk about. It's the contrast. We have the contrast so that we recognize it, but we get better at getting back into
the better feelings of emotions in life. And focusing on what I've been going through this past couple weeks for myself is my focus has been in a direction that has slowed my momentum down for my business. So redirecting, right? Okay, this is what I'm doing. And then it is the process. Why am I doing this to myself? What is it that's creating this for me to be in this space of the not good enough story? Why is this coming up now, right? And do my process. And one of the things that is for me is a great go-to, I know you use this too, is going back and listening to Esther Hicks and Abraham and listening to that. And I guess that brings me right back. And it's like, use your tools, use your support system. You have a support system, pick up the phone and call. Right? I know Bev and I, we both have this independent upbringing that we had to be, we had to grow up fast. So we thought, but we you know, so we're very independent, very masculine, very survival, very strong. And so for people like us, it is a practice to pick up the phone and call somebody, to actually call, say, hey, I need help. So if you have a support system, call them. And I'm also, for myself, I'm in a couple mastermind groups. When I get stuck, I can and send a message out. Hey, I just need some support around this, or need some guidance around this. Here's here's how I'm showing up in my life right now. Here, this is where I feel my block is. Can you give me some input? Right. So I have other support systems as well out there. It's up to me, just like with the universe, it is up to me to ask. We got to ask. Even our human friends, our human support system, we have to ask.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just even stating, I just don't know what to do. I need help. And I'll just say that. I mean, I've said that so many times, and it's like it just shows up. It could be a person, it could be a phone call, it could be a video, you know, a podcast that shows up. I get notifications all the time for podcasts or for YouTubes that show up and say, hey, this is what's out right now from these people. And I'm like, oh, I may not listen to them the rest of the time. And all of a sudden it's like, I go right and listen to it. And it's like, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
Yep.
Or if I just happen to be on Facebook, you know, it's whatever. It's the answers are always going to show up. Honestly, they are.
And you could be in that space of angry, right? You could be in that space, and it could be a phone call from one of your daughters. Hey, we're gonna go to the park with the kids. You want to go? Yes, yes, I do, because I know those kids are gonna play and have fun, and I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna smile, and it's gonna shift my energy. So it doesn't necessarily have to come from a podcast or a book or anything like that. It could be a phone call inviting you to go do something, because the universe knows in that moment, we got to get you out of this space that you're in.
Yeah.
And processing something could just be that fast, right? It could be that fast.
Yeah.
But we make it more complicated and draw it out longer than it really needs to be.
Yes. Although it was shorter, you know, these moments that I'm going through now are shorter.
Yep.
And I understand where they're coming from now. Before, it's like you just might feel like I'm just having a crappy day, or I'm just having an off day, or I'm just not happy today, or whatever the situation is at that time. But now I'm in a place where, oh, okay, so now I'm looking at this stuff. It's a different space.
Yeah.
It's like that defiant teenager when your mom tells you to do something and you're like, I'm not doing it, even though she's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know she's right.
Yeah. Well, now it's like I'm in that space, and then the information's coming to me anyways.
Yeah. I love we have to reprogram our body the way it responds to something. And so the one way that I have been trained and that I teach is that even if you're feeling anger, criticism, judgment, sadness, right, that you put a smile on your face and just, I am so angry
There's no
They know how to
filter.
communicate.
Yeah.
The adults don't like it very well, but they know how
No,
to communicate.
they do know how to communicate.
So they do have a lot to teach us.
Yeah, honestly, they do. Because then it's like when you're not listening to them and stuff, they find ways to lie, or they find ways to tell you what you want to hear, which is a lie for them. You know what I mean? Then you get
Right.
pissed off at them for lying. It's like, well, they were saying what you wanted to hear.
Right.
That's what you coaxed them into,
Yep.
which I see now, with my kids. I see how I was in a lot of ways, all the ways, not yet, but in a lot of ways, I see how I was. And it's not that I did something wrong. That's what I had. Those were my tools at that point. I didn't have the internet. I didn't have someone saying, hey, it could be better than this. It could be different. Here's a Dr. Spock book. I don't know if those books were any good or not at that time, but I would hear about those later on when my kids were older. I'm like, well, I wish I would have known some of that stuff before.
Yeah.
And I understand where your mom was coming from too. Like, even for you to tell her that kind of stuff, because it's like stuff had come forward after what I had gone through. Stuff had come forward, and it's like, how did that even happen? I thought I protected you. I thought I
Right.
kept you safe. So then it became my own personal. Now, like you said, it's like now you're dealing with this, and you've gotten to a certain point. Now it's kind of opened up some new wounds for you, and
Yeah.
it's like almost feeling like that fixer kid, like trying to fix mom or fix whatever. So it is. You're really right. Like, we really, really need to be aware of who we're sharing, not who we're sharing the information with, but, being prepared, knowing that that's information is going to come forward, and it might reawaken more stuff within yourself that you hadn't dealt with. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a rough place. It's not always easy to handle, especially when it comes to you, when you were the one to protect your children
Right. And
and did it.
you don't want to hear or know or see
Mm.
your children getting hurt by no
Nope.
means. So
Nope.
to hear a story later that this happened and you weren't there,
Yeah.
and it's not to blame them. They didn't
Mm-mm.
know. I mean, I was very good at keeping that secret.
Yeah.
Very good. And because I didn't want anybody to know, because I didn't want the backlash.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, so communication um, is a discernment of who do you want to communicate with about your healing process? Who do you want to communicate with in just day to day life? Right? There's discerning within yourself, and you'll recognize as soon as you start a conversation with somebody, you will be able to know, is this person somebody I want on my support team? Are they just somebody I want to have a general conversation with? Are they somebody that I can have a specific conversation about a topic? Right. So it's
Mhm.
discerning that. But when it comes to your support team, you want to be very particular. Very
And
particular.
you'll know, like you said, you'll know, because
Yeah,
you do learn. I mean, that's part of the whole process. That's what we're here for. And maybe
right.
you didn't get it right the first time when you decided to have that conversation with somebody, and
Right.
that's okay too, because there was still learning in that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. For sure. So I don't know. I think the telepathic thing's a lot of fun though. That's a
I
fun
do.
way to
I do.
learn to communicate.
And that's the fun part though, because you start. I mean, really, it's just getting the other stuff out of the way. You know what I mean? Getting the other stuff out of the way so you can hear. It's like having a bunch of wax in your ears. So, like, all the crap that we've been holding on to and stuff, it's this all is wax in our ears. And the more we start clearing it away, we start hearing everything. We start seeing everything. We start, like, we're more familiar. I would say probably most people have had a knowing at some point in their life, so they know what knowing feels like. And if they haven't maybe put words to it yet, they will. But it's like having those knowing feelings, just knowing things. And it's a comfort, because you just know that you're on the right path. You just know that this is part of the journey. I mean, it's all that feels right. So even the stuff that we feel is the contrast that helps us to expand and grow and want more and create more, we see that as just contrast and know that we're not going to be in that space for very long. And it's like, what? Ooh, wow, this is getting juicy. Like, what's going to happen from this? What am I going to create from this experience right now?
Right.
Yeah.
It could be so fun.
Yep. And it's creating the telepathy. It's creating the communication without words.
Yep. Embrace it. Embrace it all. The good, the bad, the ugly, the fun, the neutral.
Yep.
Embrace it all because there's something in it all for us to learn and grow from. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Miss Beverly, for your words of wisdom today. We appreciate you so much for being here.
I appreciate you. We all appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're aware of this. Again, Bev and I are typically, this is when we have our conversation. And so we are on other podcasts. So you can find us on Spreaker, which is where we originated from, on YouTube. We're on iHeartRadio and Google Podcasts. And next week I'll have some other, I'll post them in the comments. But there are other means of listening to us and bringing our words of wisdom forward for you and hoping to help you on your life journey. We're all bumping around, figuring it out, and whatever we can share that will help you and create some ease and understanding. That is our goal. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate your time and energy for being with us, for listening, for sharing the information with others, having conversations with other people who, we are in your ear and you're saying the words that we say. That is awesome. Thank you so much. But really, again, learning to teach each person to have the self-love, to have loving communication with themselves first and foremost, because when you fill up with that, it's an automatic way of treating others the same way. So just be aware. So with that, you can also communicate with us through email, amieandbev@gmail.com, or through our Facebook page, which is Amie and Bev, and then our Facebook group, Amie and Bev Community. So you, your family, or your friends, come on and join us.
That's right. The more the merrier.
Woo-woo! All right. So imagine, so we get more people in experiencing self-love more often. Imagine the vibrational change of not only your environment, but your city. And this goes, it just continues out beyond into the universe. So practice.
Right.
Practice. And if you forget, come back and listen to us again.
Absolutely.
All right, my friends, have a great week and we'll see you next time.
Have a fabulous week.